Welcome back, basketball fans, to what might just be the most consequential, brain-breaking, and absolutely chaotic offseason episode we have ever recorded on this channel. If you thought you knew the landscape of the National Basketball Association heading into the late stages of June 2026, I am here to tell you to throw every single one of your predictions straight out the window. We are currently tracking a developing story, a massive multi-tier rumor that is tearing through front offices from coast to coast. This is not just a standard trade rumor. This is a league-altering tectonic shift involving multiple superstars, desperate front offices, and the most restrictive salary cap rules we have ever seen. Right now, behind closed doors, there is a complex web being woven that could send two-time Finals MVP Kawhi Leonard back to the Toronto Raptors, the very place he became a basketball deity in 2019. And because the NBA is an ecosystem where one massive domino falling creates a shockwave that knocks over everything else, that exact move by Toronto is allegedly the key that unlocks an even more shocking reality. The Phoenix Suns acquiring Ja Morant. I need you to really process what I just said. Kawhi Leonard, the man who brought the Larry O'Brien Trophy to Canada and then immediately departed for the Los Angeles Clippers, might be heading back to the North. Ja Morant, the electrifying, gravity-defying point guard whose tenure with the Memphis Grizzlies has deteriorated into a tragic cycle of injuries and off-court suspensions, might be heading to the desert to team up with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. It sounds like something cooked up on NBA 2K with the trade override setting turn on, but this is a reality of the new NBA. We are looking at a situation where the Los Angeles Clippers, moving into their new era, have finally decided that the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George experiment is over. The injuries, the load management, the catastrophic playoff exits. It has all culminated in a front office that is desperate to shed long-term salary and recoup whatever assets they can before the window completely slams shut. Kawhi Leonard is entering his mid-30s. His medical chart is a highly classified, terrifying document. Yet, the Toronto Raptors, led by the endlessly aggressive Masai Ujiri, seem to be looking at their current roster and dreaming of 2019 all over again. They have Scotty Barnes, who has ascended to stardom, but they lack that cold-blooded, undisputed alpha closer. The murmurs suggest Toronto is willing to package a massive deal, likely involving a heavy contract to someone like Brandon Ingram, who they recently acquired, alongside young talent and unprotected future draft capital, to bring the boardman home. The nostalgia is intoxicating. The idea of Kawhi returning to Jurassic Park to finish what he started is the kind of storybook narrative the NBA thrives on. But the risk is absolutely astronomical. You are trading your future for a player who cannot guarantee he will be available for 50 games, let alone a grueling 2-month playoff run. But why does Toronto's obsession with a Kawhi reunion matter to the Phoenix Suns? Why does it matter to Ja Morant? Because the NBA operates on a very strict mathematical ledger. The Phoenix Suns are trapped in the second apron of the luxury tax. Matt Ishbia, their aggressive owner, traded away every conceivable asset to build a super team that, quite frankly, lacks a functional engine. They have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, two of the greatest pure scorers to ever touch a basketball, but they do not have a point guard who can collapse a defense. They are completely stuck. They cannot trade their way out of their current mess under normal circumstances, because the collective bargaining agreement heavily restricts teams above the second apron from taking in more salary than they send out, and it prevents them from aggregating multiple contracts in trades. Simultaneously, you have the Memphis Grizzlies, a franchise that is completely exhausted. Ja Morant was supposed to be their savior. He was supposed to be the face of the league. Instead, the suspensions, the erratic behavior, and the season-ending injuries have turned him into a distressed asset. The Grizzlies front office has reportedly hit the breaking point. They want a culture reset. They want to build around Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., and their new draft picks. They are making it known that Ja Morant is available, but the market is terrifyingly quiet. Nobody wants to take on the remaining years of his max contract, given the sheer unpredictability of his availability. This is the perfect storm. The Clippers want to shed salary and get draft picks. The Raptors want Kawhi Leonard and are willing to send out large contracts to get him. The Grizzlies want to dump Ja Morant's contract and get more reliable, less controversial pieces. And the Suns desperately need Ja Morant, but cannot trade for him directly. The only way this works is a massive, incredibly complicated multi-team trade framework. A framework where Toronto's outgoing money goes to Memphis. Memphis sends Ja Morant to Phoenix. Phoenix sends expiring contracts and whatever microscopic draft capital they've left the Clippers. And the Clippers send Kawhi to the Raptors. It is a four-team dance of desperation, and it is the only way these pieces fit together on the salary cap sheet. I will provide you with a news title and some key news segments. Please create a highly professional, extensive news script for a YouTube to the main body of the script. Let us dive deep into the specific mechanics and the basketball implications of the proposed mega deal, because this is where the fantasy meets the harsh reality of the hardwood. If the Phoenix Suns actually pull off the acquisition of Ja Morant, we are looking at an offensive juggernaut that could break the math of modern basketball. Think about the pressure that Ja Morant puts on the rim. When he is healthy and engaged, he is a blur. He is a one-man fast break who commands multiple defenders the second his foot touches the paint. Now, surround that downhill pressure with the mid-range mastery of Devin Booker and the unblockable shooting stroke of Kevin Durant. Defenses will be placed in a permanent state of compromise. If you build a wall to stop Ja Morant from getting to the rim, you are leaving two of the most lethal shooters in NBA history wide open on the perimeter. If you stay glued to Booker and Durant, Morant will feast at the basket all night long. The offensive rating would be historically absurd. It would solve the Suns' biggest issue, which is their stagnant, isolation-heavy offense that bogs down in the fourth quarter of playoff games. Ja Morant provides the chaos, the speed, and the sheer athleticism that this aging, methodical Phoenix roster desperately lacks. However, the other side of the floor is a completely different story. The defensive backcourt of Ja Morant and Devin Booker will be actively hunted by every smart team in the Western Conference. Morant has never been known for his defensive intensity or his ability to navigate screens. Booker is a capable defender when motivated, but he is not a lockdown stopper. If you have Kevin Durant exerting massive amounts of energy trying to cover up the defensive mistakes of his guards, while also carrying a heavy offensive load, you are going to burn him out before the playoffs even begin. Furthermore, what happens to the locker room dynamics? The Suns are a quiet, intense, and somewhat frustrated group right now. Introducing the massive personality, the entourage, and the constant media circus that follows Ja Morant is like throwing a stick of dynamite into a small room. It could ignite a championship fire, or it could blow the entire franchise to pieces. Matt Ishbia is essentially looking at the roulette table and putting his entire fortune on 0-0. Then we must evaluate the Toronto Raptors side of this monumental equation. Masai Ujiri is a man who operates with absolute conviction. When he traded DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard years ago, it was a wildly unpopular move locally, and to the parade rolled down Yonge Street. But this is different. In 2018, Kawhi was 27 years old. Today, he is 35. He has a degenerative knee condition. The Raptors will be sacrificing significant pieces, like Brandon Ingram and their unprotected future picks, for a player who might only see the floor once a week. But if you are Masai, you are looking at the Eastern Conference and you see an opportunity. The Boston Celtics are incredible. The Knicks are tough, but the East is not invincible. If you pair a healthy Kawhi Leonard with a prime Scotty Barnes, you instantly have the most physically imposing, defensively versatile forward duo in basketball. You have two guys with massive wingspans, high basketball IQs, and the ability to switch on to anyone. The theory is that Barnes handles the heavy lifting during the grueling 82-game regular season, acting as the primary point forward, while Kawhi is carefully preserved, managed, and unleashed exclusively for the playoffs. It is the ultimate luxury, but it requires absolute perfection from the medical staff and an MVP-level leap from Scotty Barnes. And what about the Memphis Grizzlies? This trade represents a massive swallow of pride. It is an admission of failure. They built their entire marketing campaign, their entire identity around Ja Morant. He was Memphis. To trade him in a salary dump, taking back a player like Brandon Ingram just to make the math work, is a bitter pill. But Ingram is no slouch. He is an all-star caliber wing who can score at all three levels. A core of Desmond Bane, Brandon Ingram, and Jaren Jackson Jr. is a formidable, sensible, and significantly less dramatic basketball team. The Grizzlies will be trading ceiling for a much higher floor and a peaceful night's sleep for their front office. It is a pragmatic, survivalist move for a franchise that feels completely burned out by the drama. Finally, the Los Angeles Clippers. Steve Ballmer did not build a multi-billion-dollar, state-of-the-art arena in Inglewood to host a rebuilding team. But the reality of a CBA has forced his hand. By facilitating this four-team trade, moving Kawhi to Toronto and absorbing the expiring contracts and draft capital routed from Phoenix and Toronto, the Clippers hit the reset button. They clear their books. They get out from under the luxury tax aprons, and they give themselves the flexibility to chase the next wave of disgruntled superstars in free agency. It is a painful pivot, but it might be the only way to save the franchise from a decade of incredibly expensive mediocrity. The interconnected nature of this rumor is what makes it so fascinating. It proves that in today's NBA, nobody operates in a vacuum. A medical evaluation in Los Angeles triggers a front office meeting in Toronto, which leads to a desperate phone call to Memphis, which ultimately throws a lifeline to a suffocating team in Phoenix. Every action has a massive, disproportionate reaction. As we wrap up this incredibly deep dive into the absolute madness of the 2026 NBA offseason, we have to take a step back and look at the historical precedent we are watching unfold. We are witnessing the very fabric of team building being stretched to its absolute limits by the new collective bargaining agreement. If this four-team mega deal actually goes through, it will be studied in sports management classes for decades. It will be the defining moment of Matt Ishbia's tenure in Phoenix. For better or for worse, if Ja Morant leads the Suns to a title, Ishbia is a genius who outsmarted the system. If it implodes in a flurry of injuries and locker room drama, it will go down as the most reckless gamble in sports history. Similarly, Masai Ujiri is putting his unimpeachable legacy on the line. He is the man who brought the championship to Toronto. If he mortgages the future of Scottie Barnes' team for a broken Kawhi Leonard, the goodwill he has built up over a decade could evaporate overnight. It is a high-wire act with absolutely no safety net. But as observers, as fans who consume this league year-round, this is exactly what we crave. We crave the drama, the shifting alliances, the absolute desperation of billionaires trying to buy their way to a parade. The potential of seeing Ja Morant throwing alley-oops to Kevin Durant, or seeing Kawhi Leonard hitting a contested baseline fadeaway in a Raptors jersey once again, is enough to keep every single basketball fan glued to their phone, waiting for notification that changes everything. I want to hear from every single one of you watching this right now. Head down to the comment section and give me your raw, unfiltered thoughts on this absolute insanity. If you are a Suns fan, are you willing to take on the massive risk of Ja Morant just to salvage the Kevin Durant era? If you are a Raptors fan, do you really want Kawhi back, or are you terrified of his injury history? And if you are a Grizzlies fan, are you relieved to finally be moving on from the drama, or are you devastated to lose a generational talent? There is so much to unpack here, and I want to read every single one of your perspectives. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed this extensive breakdown. And if you have not already, hit subscribe and turn on those notifications. The NBA landscape is shifting by the hour, and the moment any official news breaks on this four-team blockbuster, I will be right back here in the studio, giving you the immediate reaction and analysis. Thank you so much for watching, for staying with me through all the salary cap math and the trade machine madness. Stay tuned. Keep your eyes on the timeline, and I will catch you in the next video.